Yo, what's up, everybody? This next episode, James and I asked for questions from fans, so all I'm doing is answering questions from fans. Don't miss it. Check it out.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Yamatodamashii podcast. My name is James, and today we have some awesome fan questions that come in from all different places, all different social media. I've had some that have come directly to me as well. And today, Enson, you're going to be answering these questions. So let's get down to it, man. Let's get down to it.
Let's do it.
So the first question came in on Instagram from someone called Master of Senton. And believe it or not, it is a pro wrestling question. So they wanted to know what it was like working with pro wrestling legends like Fujiwara and Riki Choshu when you were in Riki Pro in 2005.
I actually did only one match in that, and I remember, I think Choshuriki was my tag partner, and it was really different because he was so into pro wrestling that I almost felt like we didn't really flow the way we talked and stuff, and even the stuff he did. He seemed a little punch drunk. I think he was a little punch drunk. But as he's a big time name, yeah. But he was, I don't know, but because of my status in MMA, he was super cool to me. I mean, super nice guy. And I remember that wrestling match was kind of easy because he kind of did most of the work, and I would jump in here and there, but it would be mostly him. So yeah, it was interesting because they're all the pro wrestlers, or Choshuriki, Chono, all those guys, Fujiwara, they're really helpful. They're really helpful with giving me hints on what to do, helping me out. And like when we were doing, like, before the match in the morning, we would talk it over and how the match is going to go. And there's a lot of slangs that they would use that I wouldn't understand, but they would make it a point to explain to me what it means. So yeah, they were super nice. So for me, to me, me and Sarah call it sometimes the instant pass, where everybody's nice to me. Even like we
No.
have some yakuza guys that are known dicks, but I'm like, oh fuck, he was nice to me, and everyone goes, oh, but he's nice to you because you're instant. So we call it the instant pass. So I wasn't sure if it was the instant pass or they're really nice guys. So
Yeah.
take it as it is.
Shit, I'm hoping the Ensign Pass is like goes with association.
Instant pass is kind of broad. It's kind of
Oh, nice.
works pretty good.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, right. Well, the next question, also on Instagram from Casual Hack, asked, "Did the Inoue boys have any epic street fights growing up?"
I had a lot of epic street fights growing up. Egan didn't. Egan was not a fighter. Egan was very peaceful. So to explain Egan, honor roll student, class president, and wouldn't get into fights.
Mm-hmm.
Ensign barely missed honor roll. Was a sergeant in arms if I was ever elected to any type of office, and numerous street fights. So yeah, a lot of epic street fights I had. Egan, no, none.
Although there's the racquetball story, right? Which kind of people might hear soon. It's on a soon
There's a
podcast.
racquetball story that we're planning to do in the next episode. So
Yeah,
don't miss it.
indeed. So you can. The next question from Twitter, from Enochiism Forever, which kind of gives a hint to the theme of the
Pro
question.
wrestling.
Yeah, I think that pro wrestling episode brought out a lot of your old pro wrestling fans because
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
some
Yeah.
good questions, right? So actually, they asked quite an interesting question. They ask whether you thought about returning to pro wrestling. He even actually gave some ideas about how you could team with Josh Barnett, or go to Pro Wrestling Noah and join Sugeragun, which has got like Sakuraba, Marukami, like in like a little stable and stuff. It's kind of cool ideas. But did it ever cross your mind to like do some sort of return to pro wrestling?
No, it never crossed my mind. It's never crossed my mind. But I mean, now that you mention it, if I had a good offer, it's something I would consider. I mean,
Mhm.
it would definitely be how much I would get paid,
Mhm.
and it would also be what type of wrestler I'm going to be.
Mhm.
So, for example, what type of fights I would have to do. Because if it was full on pro wrestling, I wouldn't do it. Like you'd jump off the ropes and shit. I don't know how to do all that shit. So
Yeah, yeah.
that definitely wouldn't go. And for me, the biggest thing is I respect pro wrestling, and I don't want to go in there as a fighter
Mhm.
and just taking pro wrestling lightly and just going in there and you know making myself look stupid and disrespecting the sport. So if I could, like, when I fought in the Shinihon, New Japan,
Mhm.
I had a role where I was going to just be a fighter. So I was going to kick like I kick. I was going to punch like I punch. So it wasn't like I was going to try to be a pro wrestler. So I mean, it would depend. It would definitely depend on the role. It would definitely depend on how much the pay would be.
Mhm.
And never thought about it, but definitely would consider it if I had a good offer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think that return to like sort of shoot style is kind of making a bit of a
Mhm.
comeback. I think like Josh
That would be
Barnett's
a
he started promoting shows in America where they're doing that type of style called Bloodsport, and I think that's really gaining popularity. Um, and yeah, he mentioned Pro Wrestling Noah, and yeah, there's the Sakurabas, the Murakamis, where it's kind of that sort of hybrid style. So
the thing is, I don't think pro wrestling pays that much money. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think you got to love it as well, right? There's a lot of risk and reward as well, right? So I think
Yeah.
they
So yeah, it would definitely depend on money and
yeah.
what type of role I would play.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely would consider it if I got an offer.
Cool. And Rising Japan Girls on Twitter asks, how was your Vegas trip? Which we kind of did an episode.
Awesome. The Vegas trip was awesome, man. In the casino wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but as far as the training, Suyoshi's training and everything else, the trip was tied into like a San Diego slash Vegas trip. So
Mhm.
overall, the whole thing was awesome. I was in San Diego. I could meet up with my I call it like an affiliate gym, or like a family with Barrett Yoshida. The owner Lucas is a good friend, like a brother, and I got to stop by their gym, hang out with Lucas, and did a seminar there. Everything was Shoshi had really good training there, training with the Jiu-Jitsu gi. So he had really good training there. We moved to Vegas. The Vegas, besides the casino, the Vegas trip, everything went perfect. The training, the guys at Extreme Couture is super cool. They kind of made an exception and allowed us in to train with the pro team. Like almost like the Extreme Couture, they run their gym like a family, which I really loved. It's like a family, and they actually made the exception that we could blend in with the family. Like we're going into the gym that usually only members go into, and they're taking care of Suyoshi. The teaching that they give Suyoshi was incredible. I mean, I sat there watching a lot of the trainings. I learned myself just watching them train them. So, yeah, I mean, one, you got a good gym to train at. Two, you got guys that are welcoming you in, treating you like family.
Mhm.
Just I love those guys. I mean, the coaches in Extreme Couture, Eric, uh, got a Recifu, Eddie. They're all super cool guys, man. So the Lake Vegas trip went freaking awesome. Would have been way better if I hit a big jackpot, but other than that, it went awesome.
Yeah. If you didn't see it, we did an episode as well on the whole USA trip. We included like some pictures as well, and so definitely worth checking out that big in depth uh, story on your trip. Um, Another pro wrestling fan, but kind of an MMA question. At I love Sugeragun asks, would you ever get Suyoshi to train with Marukami? Maybe do some judo and some takedowns.
No, because I think Murakami isn't at that level that would actually create good training for Suyoshi.
Mhm.
He was a judoist, but he's more of a pro wrestler. His he's older too. Yeah, I think he's almost my age. So I don't know how much of a training sparring partner he'd actually be for Suyoshi. But he's a pro wrestler. He's not a fighter. So I don't think Murakami would be able to provide good training for Suyoshi. So yeah, I mean, I have a good relationship with Murakami, so I could probably call him and if I needed it. But
Mhm.
considering his age, considering that we're going to be asking him a favor to train with him, and I don't think he'd actually be up to par with what we need.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, probably
Maybe,
not.
maybe if you decide to, if Suyoshi one day decide to hang up and do some pro wrestling, then there's your contact for that.
I don't know. Yeah, it'll be an interesting thing. Of course, not right now when Sushi's in the midst of his career, but
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
that's always a good outlet after fighting
Mm.
pro wrestling because it's something that you can work around your injuries. You can work around your body. So if
Mhm.
your body's slowing down, the other guy just doesn't come as fast. So
Mhm. Mhm.
the thing about pro wrestling is you can actually set things up to favor
Yeah.
your style and favor your movements.
Mhm. Cool. So Chad on Facebook asked a number of questions, all great questions. The first one he asked is, who right now do you think is the best active fighter?
Who is the best active fighter right now? Over pound for pound, or
Yeah, I guess pound for pound. Like if you had to say who the best fighter is.
I would say I don't know why it would be between Justin Gaethje and Poirier.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think they're super well rounded, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to go with Gaethje because I mean, I think he's the best fighter. Not saying that he's going to be able to beat everybody,
Mhm.
but as far as chin, stamina, the things that are important in fighting: wrestling,
Mhm.
standing, ground, stamina, and toughness. I think he
Mhm.
covers most of it. I don't know how good his ground is, but he's a wrestler.
Mhm.
His ground can't be too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would say if I had to pick one, Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, it's always interesting the sort of pound for pound, like,
Yeah,
and the
Paul.
best fighter conversation. It's kind of a weird one, right?
To be
Because
to be honest, I hate when people talk about pound for pound because you'll never know,
yeah, yeah,
and I hate when people talk, especially this is I've talked about this in my seminar in San Diego too. That when you talk about the greatest of all time, the GOT,
hmm hmm
that's such a bullshit conversation.
yeah, because it
I
changes,
mean,
right?
Cormier will never be able to fight Mark Coleman in his prime.
hmm
Mark Coleman will never be able to fight Hickson at his prime.
hmm
So it's like it's useless talking about GOT because it's all about opinions.
hmm
And Daniel Cormier is one guy who always goes and worries about GOT.
hmm
And I really think I like Daniel. I think he's a good fighter and I think he's a good person, but
hmm
it kind of just annoys me when he's so well, maybe annoy is a strong word, but it kind of just makes me kind of
Yeah,
cringe when he says, always talking about who's being the GOT. It's like, especially
yeah,
when his name was involved. After he lost and got knocked out by Stipe,
yeah,
that his GOT was out the door. So he stopped talking about it. But before that, when he was saying that he
mm,
was a GOT, it's like, shut up already. You'll never know, and you'll
yeah,
never find out, and you can never. It's a guess. So I don't
yeah.
like. So I mean,
Even
best
recently,
fighter
he
in the
was.
division, pound for
Mm.
pound, you'll never know. But I like Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I like the way you're thinking. You're kind of thinking sort of well-rounded skills and that, and a lot of people do it on sort
Yeah,
of fights for fights. But the thing about guys like Justin Gaethje is they'll kind of fight anyone, which is also the right mentality as well, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's cool. Um, yeah, no. So he also asks, with the last Max Holloway and Volkanovski fights, the last two fights, how did you score them? Did you score them in Max's favor or for Volk?
This would be a short answer because I don't remember the fight. But I did think I remember thinking Max won both times.
Yeah.
But I am very biased because I wanted Max to win. So he's a Hawaii boy, and we cheer for our Hawaii boys, our roots. So I'm the pioneer. He's the one carrying the torch, and I love to see the Hawaii boys do good all the time.
Mhm.
So it is really neat, because when you're cheering for Max, I'm watching what punches Max hits him with,
Mhm.
and don't realize you're not even focusing on what Volkanovski will hit him with.
Yeah.
So I see Max hitting him way more times when Volkanovski's hitting him a lot too, but I don't realize it. So it's hard when you're watching with a biased eye. So I thought
He
Max won both.
So he also wants to know who you think would win in the third fight. So I think you might have given your answer there, but
Oh, I don't know, man. I would want Max to win, but
Mhm.
man, Volkanovski has just so. I mean, his
Mhm.
stamina, that was Max's thing. He would break people down.
Mhm.
Volkanovski does not slow down. He's hits hard. He's good. His ground is good too. Now it's like I don't know, man. I think I would say if I had to bet my house, then I would bet on Volkanovski.
Mhm.
But I'm
Oh
still
wow.
rooting for Max. I want Max to win. Because I think it's such a there's it's not like it's a 99-1. It's more like
Mm.
I think a 60-40 that Volkanovski will win. The 40 is pretty huge.
Hmm.
So Max looked really good too in his last fight. So
Yeah, Rodriguez fight.
yeah. So
That was a wicked fight. That was.
I hope Max wins.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see that fight whenever they make it. But so he's asked a couple of food questions, which is cool. So he said, I first wants to know, what's your go-to food in Japan?
My go-to food is shabu shabu.
Shabu shabu. Nice.
It's a beef.
Nice.
It's like really thin cut beef.
Mhm. It's in the stew, right? It's the.
Yeah. You just boil in water for literally like split like 1 second, maybe two
Mhm.
seconds. That's why
Nice.
they call it shabu shabu. You put in the water shabu shabu, and it's ready to eat.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So it's a little pink yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And he also asks, when you land in Hawaii, what's the first meal you want? What's the Hawaiian cooking that you're after?
Mom's cooking.
Yeah. Okay. Was your mom a good cook then?
Oh, my mom's an awesome cook. And
Nice.
I
Nice.
don't know if it's because she's learned my taste buds. She knows exactly how I like it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man, I mean, if I had to go any other restaurant, I choose to eat at mom's home. I'd rather eat at home.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Any
So yeah.
particular dish that
Okay.
she makes?
So that would be she makes everything. My favorite is like meatloaf. She makes a sweet sour meatloaf. She makes sweet and sour chicken.
Nice.
And this trip, she's been freezing meals for me. So I've been taking
Ah.
them down: teriyaki chicken, miso salmon. She made a unreal beef stew. She makes unreal curry. I mean, unreal. So I mean, the first thing I'm looking forward to eating is my mom's food, and my mom's got the best desserts.
Oh, really?
Best desserts.
Nice.
Yeah, haupia. Haupia is like a coconut dessert in Hawaii.
Okay.
She makes awesome like a pumpkin like I don't know. It's not a pie. It's like a pumpkin like freaking. Oh my god, strawberry shortcakes. I mean, she makes unreal stuff. But if there was a restaurant that I would go to, it would be there's a place called Rainbows. It
Okay.
serves plate lunches. Yeah, so I mean, anybody in Hawaii knows what Rainbows is. So if
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
going, it's my go-to food. If mom's busy, mom can't cook, or mom's not home, I'm headed straight to Rainbows.
Yeah. Is it like Hawaiian barbecue sort of thing or?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay, cool. The only time I've ever had that is once in LA and one time in Japan, I think, in Nagoya. Randomly found like a Hawaiian barbecue place, and I was like,
Yeah, that's
mind was
intense. Yeah.
blown away by it. Like you don't get that over here in England. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, shit, we need to move on from food because I haven't had breakfast, so this is making me super
Oh
hungry.
damn. Okay. Enough about food.
All right. Okay. Cool. So, someone else asked on Facebook, when did you quit racquetball?
I quit racquetball when I went into fighting at about 1994.
Mhm.
So I quit racquetball because I went to fighting.
Mhm.
Straight
We
up, dropped the racket, put on the gloves, and never went back to the racket. the people in racquetball was freaking out because I was like the one of their best players in Japan. And it's like, what? He's gonna fight? Yeah, it was kind of like that.
Damn. Yeah, you covered it kind of in a previous episode. So I think if you haven't seen it, check out the early years episode, because that's a
Yeah.
different style of episode, because it kind of talks about when you first came to Japan and all the craziness that you went through in the beginning.
Yep.
They also asked, what was the moment that you said you're going to jump into MMA?
Like we discussed in one of my I think it was my fourth fight with Andre Menard.
Hmm.
If you go back to that episode, it was after I beat him. Up until then, it was one fight at a time, and then when I beat Andre, which is a very respected K1 fighter in Japan, although it wasn't kickboxing rules, I just felt like I just beat one of the real fighters, and I just changed my whole mind frame. Like instead of going in there and just testing myself, there was an added incentive. I was still going in there to test myself, but then I thought, oh wow, let's see how good I am. Maybe I am pretty good at this, and I wanted to find out.
Awesome. Yeah. As I say, check it out. Previous episodes, because we went pretty in depth on that topic
Yeah.
as well. So we're worth going back and watching some previous stuff. Do you have any goals or plans for 2022?
No. Oh,
Open
short
schedule.
answer.
Yeah.
Same. No, my plans for 2022 is the same thing. Training fighters, doing my bracelet business, and possibly working with the Navy SEALs in Coronado, California. Um, that's the main things I'm looking forward to. One of the big things that I'm looking forward to is Sarah's going to make her continuance. I don't want to say comeback, but she's going to continue in the ring.
Nice.
So 2022 for me, the biggest thing for 2022 is Sarah's going to be really active. And I already talked to Ray Sifu. There's talk about her maybe possibly being in the PFL.
Nice.
Of course, there's Rising and Shuto. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of options. She's a head over heels a better fighter than she was in her last fight 2 years ago. So people are going to freak out to see how good she got. So
Mm-hmm.
we just got to get her opponent. Just got to get her in the ring, and her movements and her fight will do the talking. So that's one of the biggest things in 2022 that I'm looking forward to.
Nice. Yeah, I have a potential plan for you as well in 2022, but I'll discuss that with you offline, see if you're interested. So it
Right.
involves this podcast, but it could be a very special episode. So
Oh, sounds good.
yeah, man.
Sounds exciting.
So do you have, outside of fighting, do you have like the biggest sort of personal achievement?
Yeah, probably the pilgrimage,
Mm-hmm.
the Shikoku pilgrimage, to walk
Yeah.
880 miles on foot, with no not spending a single penny for lodging or food. The only thing I allowed myself to spend for was water,
Mhm.
and I completed the whole journey in a month.
Yeah, that's an insane
Yeah.
achievement, man. That's we need to do a separate episode on that, because that's just
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually thinking of going back on it again.
well, really,
I was thinking it
wow.
might be actually interesting to document it. It would have to be
Yeah.
done on my cell phone though, but we can still do it probably.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
find a good place with good reception.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm in the mountains, we probably couldn't do a podcast, but when I'm out of the mountains, we could do a podcast. Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
it'd be interesting to
Yeah.
for me to be on the trails and then we're talking about it.
Yeah. Do you have a route in mind, like whereabouts?
No, the route is going to be around the island of Shikoku. It's the same route visiting 108 temples.
Wow.
60% in the mountains.
Nice. See, when I said, do you have any goals for 22? It sounds like you do have some goals.
Oh well, that's I've already done it. Yeah, so it's not really a goal. It's
Oh,
something that
okay. Yeah.
I feel like doing the pilgrimage brings me back to reality about what I need to take for what I'm taking for granted in life that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's real funny because after I finished my pilgrimage, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of things that I've been taking for granted in life.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, just being back into civilization, being back with all your luxuries, you just somehow fall right back on taking advantage of taking things for granted again.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell yourself, okay, wait, getting in bed, don't grumble about what you got to wake up early tomorrow. You be happy you got a soft bed with a roof over your head with blankets. But for some reason, I mean, the majority of the time I'm getting in bed thinking about tomorrow or thinking about what happened the day previous,
Mm-hmm.
instead of appreciating the bed I have and the roof over my head. Sometimes telling yourself that just isn't enough. Going back there again, and then having to find places to sleep at night, having to find shelter if it's raining. It just brings back into the perspective of what you've been taking for granted. So that's why I want to do it again. So yeah, it's not really a goal. It's just something I think I need to put myself through to just be able to appreciate the things I have a little easier.
Mm-hmm. Nice, nice. A bit of a loaded question, but do you have any plans for New Year's Eve this year?
Ooh, yep. I have plans to order some pizza, order pay-per-view on Rising, sit back and enjoy the fights.
Yeah.
So any of you who are very intelligent are thinking, okay, you're gonna be at home for the Rising. So is your fighter not fighting? That
So
has to be confidential right now because I don't think I should say anything until it's officially announced.
he just announced it on Instagram. So
Oh, he did. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, well, he got hurt. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why I asked the question, because I figured you could probably say it if he's announced it publicly. But
Yeah. So I mean, pros and cons. Yeah. I mean, every bad situation there's some good. Of course, he's hurt, so he's going to be out for a while. So it's unfortunate because he had a really good fight the last fight.
Mhm.
But on top of that, I mean, if you dwell on that and dwell on the negative, it's it could be could bring me down to be a little sad. But you look on the other side. Okay, I got a relaxing New Year's now.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to train still for Sarah, but it's not as intense as we had to for Suyoshi. So New Year's is gonna be like the New Year's that's always been before Suyoshi came into our life. We're
Mhm.
gonna sit back, relax, and just enjoy the new year. So looking forward to that. So
Nice,
good and bad. So I choose to focus on the good.
nice.
And
So,
Shoshi actually went into surgery. He's going into surgery tomorrow.
oh
He went
wow,
into the hospital
quick
today.
turnaround.
Yeah.
Shit, nice. That's cool. And hopefully, yeah, wishing him a speedy recovery. Hope he's doing well.
Yeah.
Um, question from the wifey. She asks, do you have any cool stories of when you first got any of your dogs? So when you first got Shuto, Bernie, Tamashi, Cowgirl, any particular stories that sort of go with when you sort of first got them?
Not any particular stories, especially not when I first got them. But
Hmm.
like Shuto, my dog Shuto spent like every day with me, slept with him. And at the time when I was living out of my car, most of the time he stayed with me.
Hmm.
When I picked up a girl at a club, she would have to sleep in the car with Shuto and me. Yeah, no, it was like that. And then Shuto um, was always was with me whenever I did. And when I finally bought the house, it was funny because Shuto could open every door in the house.
What?
Yep, he could open every door in the house. So in my bedroom, I had to put a lock on it
Hmm.
because he would in the winter he would open the door but leave it open and jump on the bed.
Fuck it.
Yeah, and it's like fuck, I gotta get up in the middle of the night and close the door.
Yeah, yeah,
So he
yeah.
could actually open doors to pull.
Wow.
So he had access to everyone in the house. So if I wanted to keep him out, I had to lock the door.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anything, Shuto is, or, is I miss him to death.
Hmm.
And he was like one of the family. I actually
Yeah.
have a 5-day fast coming up.
No way.
When was that? In March, I think. It's in March.
Okay.
But he died in March, so I'm gonna do the 5-day fast again in March.
Shit. So how do you? What do you just fast from like day to
Yeah,
day
all
to
he
what?
could do is drink water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So allow myself. I just put myself in the same situation he was in,
Mm,
and I feel like after feeling that suffering that he had, I can fully, with my heart, tell him to rest in peace.
mm,
So every year I go through that, and then after I have a little pray at the temple and tell him that miss you, rest in peace.
yeah.
Have fun up there. Don't kill too many doggies in heaven.
What was his nature like? Was he quite? Because you brought him in the ring. You took him
He was
everywhere, man.
mellow with people. Wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Kids would pull his ear, climb on his back. But any animal, you could have a
Right. Yeah.
little
Yeah.
chihuahua sitting there. You have a little, Pomeranian walking down the street, and
He'd
he would
switch.
be out the door, ripping them apart.
Hmm.
So that was his, his bloodline. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Oh yeah, you gotta love pets. And you had loads of pets, right? You had like at one point you
I had
had.
ferrets. I had monkeys. I had snakes, dogs. I had a cat. One of my girlfriends had a cat, so I actually had a cat. Of course, fish. I did want the other two things I want to own again. Is there's three things I want to own.
Mhm.
I want to own an owl. I
Cool.
want to buy a pig, and I also want an iguana. Ones that get big and eat
Oh yeah,
birds and shit.
yeah,
Yeah. So I don't know how real it is because the pig would. I heard the pig destroys the yard.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then the pig is also very it's not as it's real unreliable when you buy a pig to know how big he's going to be.
yeah. I was
Yeah,
insane, man.
miniature pigs. I heard some miniature pigs getting 400 pounds. So
Wow.
yeah, so I don't know if it's the deception in the market or you
Yeah,
know any pig can get big if you feed them too much. I don't know. So
the
yeah,
maintenance.
there's more. I want to get those animals. I don't need monkeys anymore. I already had monkeys. So
Yeah, yeah. God, that's crazy, man. The amount of time it would take to look after a pig. That's just
I know.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So, final question, and this one's from me. I've always been curious about it, right? So, the big Pride event. So, let's say open weight Grand Prix first round. They'd get you to come out on the stage before and make a big deal of it, right? Before the event even starts, like the opening ceremony sort of thing. As a fighter, what goes through your head in that moment? Like, is there anything in particular, like, because you've got kind of like your opponent kind of near enough to you, like, but you don't, UFC doesn't really do this. Well, they've never done it, have they? Where they've had like sort of the fighters come
True.
out.
True. I never thought of that.
They're just
Well,
curious
okay.
what goes through mind.
So as a fighter, for me, I do not get into mode until 2 hours, 2 fights before my fight.
Hmm.
So pretty much I'm I'm like me now. I talk, I laugh, I drive myself to the arena. We get into the arena, I'm talking with the corner man, sitting down, laughing, cruising, having a good time. So you wouldn't walk into the locker room and say, "Oh, I know that guy's fighting because of tension." There's no tension. But 2 fights before, everything changes, yeah. So you could feel the tension after that. But the funny thing is, something about that, those opening ceremonies when you're there next to your opponent or you're there across your opponent, depending where on the card you are. If you're in the main event, you'll be in the ring. But if you're not in the main event area, you'll be more on the sides, but your opponent will be across to the other side. Something about the atmosphere of the crowd, and something about the music and the booms and all that spotlights. It brings that you're not you if you notice watch some rings one of some of those opening ceremonies in Pride or even Rising. You
Hmm.
see the fighters start jumping around, start shadowing like they're gonna fight. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
they're not acting. It's weird how that brings you, like, you feel like you gotta stretch, like that you want to start stretching. You start doing this kind of shit, and you start ready to fight. It's kind of weird. It's like although you're not in mode at all, and like I said, I get in mode like 2 fights before my fights. Something about that opening ceremony just rushes that adrenaline
mm,
and makes you like fucking, yeah. You get tense, and you get that you get into that mode for that brief 5-10 minutes of the ceremony. Yeah, so it is pretty intense. I mean,
yeah,
the promoters, as you know, Pride promoters, they like I always like to say, like, it feels like you're walking through a movie. The way they have everything, man, it's amazing. The way they have it. So I mean, that whole atmosphere is just crazy. So for as a fighter, it's you almost feel like you just go through this short adrenaline rush. That fuck, it's a ceremony, and after the ceremony's done, boom, you walk out, you get out of that mode. Yeah. So, but it brings you into that mode whether you like it or not.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I always wondered just because there's nothing else like it in MMA, right?
Yeah.
You just can't beat it. It's
Mhm.
it's the best. Awesome. Well, I think that just about does it for all the questions. So as always, any sort of parting words to the fans watching the episode?
Yeah, I'm planning a huge episode next week. I'm trying to get my brother Egan, one of my friends from Kansas City, Guy Humphrey. He was with us at this huge, notorious street fight we got into. A street fight that actually made me get more serious into jiu-jitsu. A street fight that actually is what brought Egan over from racquetball to martial arts. Egan was a martial artist, but not jiu-jitsu. So what kind of brought him to jiu-jitsu. So I already got Guy Humphrey. I got James in. I'm ready. We're just waiting on Egan's response. So, Egan's a busy guy. So we'll see if he can get that right timing and he could get on. We could all be there and reminisce that freaking crazy day.
Looking forward to it. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Shoot.